So you have iPads in your classroom this year. That is super exciting. We are going to talk about starting strong. And I'm going to walk you through the super important process of setting them up with your students. We call this process one-to-one iPad enrollment. Before you get started, there are a few things that you're going to need. First, assign each student a specific iPad. You can number each iPad and assign that number to a student. If you don't assign numbers, then you can affix their name to the iPad instead. Remember, one-to-one means one iPad assigned to one student, so they will not be sharing this device with other students throughout the day. Next, have student usernames, passwords, email, and 4-digit birth dates ready to go in a way that students can reference them throughout this process. One way to do that is to give each student a note card with info on it and clearly labeled so they know what is what. This info can also be in a class folder or notebook in case students need to reference it for other stuff. Super tip, color code the different parts of the index card. Bonus super tip, clearly define capital letters. A note about student emails. Every one of your students, from the time they enter PCPS as kindergartners to the time they graduate, has an email address. It's their username at mypolkschools.net. The password is the same one that they use to get into ClassLink. Teachers can view and print a list of student usernames and passwords on Focus. Super tip, you can copy and paste from Focus onto slips of paper that you distribute. So it's enrollment day. Each student has a note card and an assigned iPad, and it's time to set them up with the students. So let's go through those steps together. Don't bother to write them down. I've linked resources in the description that include a PowerPoint you can project for the whole class. Kids start by turning their iPad on by pressing the power button on the side. The iPad will power on and this hello screen will display. Students will press the home button to get started. They will first select English and then United States. Now the next 4 steps might not be necessary for some teachers depending on how the iPads were set up by the network manager. If your student iPads were run through Atlas, you can skip ahead to this point in the video. Otherwise, you can just hang with us. At the Quick Start screen, have students tap Set Up Manually and then choose the Wi-Fi network PCPS Apple. The password for this network is Apple Setup. Once they've done that, they're going to tap Next on the remote management screen and then type their username and password and tap Next again. Super tip. Some students are still learning how to use the attached keyboard, but they might be more comfortable with an on-screen keyboard. The letters are larger and it can be easier to shift to caps. And a lot of student passwords have capital letters in them. When the iPad is in landscape, an icon appears in the lower right corner that brings up an on-screen keyboard when tapped. Some students might be concerned that they can't actually see their password while they're typing. Reassure them that if they do make a mistake, nothing bad will happen. They'll just have to retype it. Again, the on-screen keyboard might be really helpful here for students. Now the next prompt asks for an Apple ID, which is your student's email address. You may have to assist some students in finding the @ symbol by pressing Shift and the number 2 on the keyboard or switching to the symbol menu on the on-screen keyboard. The next screen will confirm that this Apple ID is managed by the Polk County School District. Students will tap the blue Continue prompt and enter the same password they did before. Because this is a one-to-one iPad, they can choose to stay signed in, and then as a final step, they must tap the blue Enable Location Services prompt. For students in grades 3 to 5, the prompt to change their passcode will pop up when they reach this home screen. We recommend using the student's 4-digit birth date as the passcode. K12 iPads will not receive this prompt, as passwords are not required for those one-to-one devices in primary grades. And then you're done. It really is just not that bad. Setting up iPads can be a learning experience for students, from following directions to using the keyboard to getting familiar with their usernames and passwords, and all of that helps them grow as digital citizens and is an important part of having one-to-one devices in the classroom. From a logistics standpoint, there are 2 ways to set up iPads with the students. The first is as a whole class altogether. The advantage is that you get done faster, but there is the added challenge of figuring out how to help individual students who may be learning the device or, troubleshoot incorrectly typed passwords, for example. If you're able to have a few more adults in the room for extra support, whole class enrollment can go very smoothly and turn out absolutely great. Another option is small group enrollment, where students rotate through centers in the classroom, one of which is teacher-led, where students go through the enrollment process with the teacher, who is there to help them if they need a little extra support. This method works really well if you want to assist individual students more easily. The only drawback, of course, is that the process takes longer because you're working with less kids at a time. However you choose to do it, setting up iPads is an important part of going one-to-one, and it's exciting. This is your students' first step in taking ownership and making this device their own. Enrollment Day is a great day for students and teachers, so be excited. Be super excited, because you are on your way to a super strong start.